What is up, everybody? It is Grand Prix GTP02 here, coming to you once again from Humble Hyundai here in the north end of Houston, Texas. And some of you guys may recall that a few months ago, I leased myself a 2017 Hyundai Elantra Sport. And in the over 7,600 miles that I've put on that vehicle since I got it, it has had its ups and downs, but overall, it's been a pretty fun ride. But now, I've been given the opportunity to check out what's happened to its oddball sibling. So come along as we take a look at the all-new 2018 Hyundai Elantra GT. Alright everyone, so let's get to it. And right off the bat, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people out there are looking at this vehicle right now and saying, well, I recognize the car, but I don't exactly recognize the name. And to those of you out there who are already saying that just in the first few seconds of this review, well, guess what? You guys are correct. Because in other parts of the world, aside from the US and Canada, this car is actually known as the Hyundai i30. So, just to eliminate any confusion here, I've gone ahead and thrown that fact out there right here in the beginning. But now, let's get to the facts. Now, as it's pretty obvious to see, the Elantra GT has definitely grown up in several major ways for the 2018 model year. However, out of all of the things that Hyundai has done to improve the Elantra GT for this new design, perhaps my favorite of them all is the fact that Hyundai now offers a little bit more of an enthusiast-driven version of this new hatchback. Welcome to the Elantra GT Sport. Basically, an Elantra Sport sedan with a hatchback body draped over the top. Now, as is the case with pretty much any new car that comes onto the market these days, looks are always subjective to the viewer. And while the new Elantra GT is a very nice looking car in its own way, to me, not exactly every element of design on this vehicle is pleasing to my palate. But we start here at the front, and with these headlights, this is one of the things where I have a little bit of a low blow to say about it. They almost remind me of a stretched version of the headlights that you'll find on the current generation Hyundai Accent, which isn't exactly a bad thing, as the Accent will soon look almost just like this, but at the same time you notice the pointy edges and things like that, and this sort of curved, rounded design to them. But again, they are very stylish in their own way. My GT Sport makes them full LED headlights. This includes the high beam assist as part of the Sport technology package, but again, full LEDs all the way across. You have LED stacked daytime running lights here, as well as LED turn signals. You also have the wheel air curtains now integrated into the sides of this Sport front fascia here. And one of the areas that's a little bit of a mixed bag for me is this grille, this new cascading grille design, which takes the place of the split level grille of the previous generation, which sort of had that clowny, almost Mazda 3-ish kind of grin to it, but now it looks a little bit more aggressive with these sort of inset curves here on the end pieces. The mesh design is standard on the Sport, however, there is a little bit of a lesser looking grille on some of the more basic Elantra GTs. However, if you opt for the Sport, this is the design you're going to get. You have a little bit of an open area down here to allow for increased airflow, as well as a nice open area down here at the base of it. Now, as I've said many times before, wheels and tires can definitely be a make or break factor on a lot of vehicles these days, especially ones that are more enthusiast-derived like my GT Sport Tester. Now, these 18-inch dark silver finished wheels are the only wheel option for the GT Sport. If you want a slightly different wheel design, slightly smaller in size with thicker tires, you can opt for the lower end GT, giving you a 17-inch wheel design. Now, like the Elantra Sport sedan on which this GT is based, we have four-wheel disc brakes all the way around, and crucially in the back we have the independent suspension setup, thus giving it a much more sporty driving dynamic and characteristic. Now, coming along down the sides of the vehicle here, you do start to see hints that this is one of the more loaded out Elantra GTs. Down here we have the body colored side view mirrors with included blind spot monitoring and LED turn signals. The blind spot monitoring, of course, has the illuminating indicators in the upper corners of each mirror. We also have body colored door handles with the integrated proximity key keyless access that is standard on the GT Sport. However, it is an option on the lower end Elantra GTs. That does include push button ignition, but no hands-free tailgate access and no power tailgate. That's not exactly an option I wish that Hyundai had included on this vehicle. It's still plentifully easy to actually access the rear hatch, but the biggest feature that I am really digging on this is the full panoramic sunroof. That is a part of the Sport technology package here, and it's funny that Hyundai actually offers this on the Elantra GT fully loaded out, but on a Elantra Sport sedan of just a couple $1,000s difference, you actually just get the standard smaller power tilting and sliding sunroof, and the same can actually be said for the $30,000 plus Sonata Sport Turbo, which does not, as we found out, include a panoramic sunroof in the options list. So it's kind of funny that Hyundai has taken it away from some of their more well-known names, but for a more oddball car like the Elantra GT, they still give you the good old panoramic roof. Now, looking at the Elantra GT from the rear, I'm seeing influences from at least two different manufacturers here, primarily one more than the other, but I'm seeing a bit of Kia-esque design, but more so I'm seeing influences from cars like the Volkswagen Golf and Golf GTI. Primarily why I say that is the shape of the rear trunk here, and also leading down to the rear bumper. The rear trunk here is very much a GTI-esque kind of shape, same with these standard LED taillights. They are standard LEDs on the GT Sport, but if you go for one of the lesser ones, those are just an available option. You do have your Sport badge down here, hidden rear view camera underneath the Hyundai logo. I missed the old one where the camera was actually hidden underneath the logo, and when you put it in reverse, the logo would fold out, but it's cool that they included the backup camera nonetheless. Again, the integrated trunk latch down below, and moving down to the rear bumper, again, I'm seeing more Volkswagen Golf GTI, especially the now separate dual exhaust. It still sounds great, just as good as that on the Elantra Sport sedan, but it's actually cool that they give you two separate exhausts rather than twin pipes coming out in a single outlet. Now, finishing up on the exterior here, there seems to be one little question that still is floating around in my mind, and that is, how does the Elantra GT compare to its slightly more plebeian and everyday sibling? Well, in truth, not much. Well, aside from the length, that is. This car here is 170.9 inches long, which makes it exactly 9 inches shorter than the Elantra sedan. However, size is not exactly everything with the Elantra family, as this car excels more in practicality compared to being the bigger of the two brothers. Now, although the looks are subjective and they may not always be everyone's cup of tea, to me, I still think Hyundai has done a pretty good job as far as redesigning the Elantra GT and bringing it right up into the modern day design league. But as much as the exterior's changed, what about the inside? Well, let's press the button on the door and find out. Now, just like the looks on the exterior of this Elantra GT, looking at its interior, again, the feeling is a bit of a subjective one. I'm pretty sure not everybody is going to enjoy things like the bright red piping and stitching that can be found on my GT Sport tester here. However, there are a few options that I can genuinely appreciate as an upgrade over even the Elantra Sport sedan. For starters, you have these same black leather-bound, heavily bolstered bucket seats here in the front. These are perforated, but they are heated and and now ventilated. That is an option that was not available on the Elantra Sport sedan for 2017 when I got mine. So it's nice to see Hyundai giving you some more premium upgrades for a little bit more of a premium price. Speaking of the driver's seat, it is now also power adjustable. Again, another feature that was not offered first on the Sport sedan. That also features multi-way lumbar control and also your different power distance and recline functions as well. But looking at it from an aesthetic standpoint, it's actually not too bad. You have sort of a medium grain padded material up here on the top of the door, a more fine grain leather-like material here that continues down to the armrest, which does actually have a nice bit of padding to it. And then of course you have your typical switchgear here with one little exception. You have your power mirrors, you have your window locks, you only have an automatic up-down driver's window. There is no all-4 automatic option. That would have been something a little bit nicer to have on a more loaded tester like this, but you just have the rest of your power windows, and you'll notice that there is no physical door lock indicator anymore, and nor is there a power lock switch anywhere on the door. For starters, the door lock switch has been relocated to the middle of the center stack, and all of the door lock's inner workings, including an indicator, is all now located inside the door rather than a physical lock and unlock indicator. Now, sitting down here in the Elantra GT's driver's seat, I can tell you that things like visibility, comfort, and ingress and egress, or entry and exit, should be not a problem for people of all sizes here. As far as visibility is concerned, the windshield is raked away at a pretty decent angle, and it does actually feel of a pretty good size. Looking out the side windows, no problems there. Looking towards the rear, the headrest does get in the way, especially for even taller folks like myself, but that is also adjustable, so you can move the seat out of the way if you wish. Here at the back, you can also see a little 3/4 window back there, which is kind of neat. And then out the back, the rear window isn't exactly what I would call bad. It is a little on the skinny side, but even looking in the rear view mirror, I have absolutely no issues with that whatsoever. Now, being the fact that we just had a hurricane here in Houston, it is quite muggy this afternoon, so we'll go ahead and give this puppy some power, get our air conditioning going as usual. We have an all-new key fob here for this Elantra GT, and it is a nice looking one. Very nice looking, very premium feeling in your hands. You have your typical functions: lock, unlock, hold this button to release the trunk, but like I said, no power tailgate or anything like that. Hold this button here for the panic, and a retractable key blade as always, simply done by flicking this little trigger here and pulling the key blade out of the bottom. But it's like any other smart key system. Just keep the key fob anywhere within the vehicle. That can be in your pocket, purse, etc. Put your foot on the brake. You do have aluminum support pedals down there as well. In this case, hit this red accented start button on the dashboard, and alrighty, so we got a little air conditioning going, so let's talk about this interior. And it's pretty much just like the exterior. There's a few things I don't like about it, but there also are a good few things that I do like about this interior. But starting here directly in front of you in the driver's seat, we have this newer design 3-spoke leather trimmed multifunction steering wheel. It's not the flat bottom design with the same red accent that you'll find in the Elantra Sport sedan, but it still does feel pretty comfortable in your hands. The leather is nice and soft and supple feeling. It doesn't exactly feel fake, but it does have a slightly synthetic feel to it in certain places. You got perforations here at 9 and 3, grip extensions at 10 and 2, and then, as I said, the red accent stitching and red accent here lining the rim and the bottom spoke of the wheel. Like the Elantra Sport, you have all your typical gear up here on the top 2 spokes, and even the smaller paddle shifters here hidden on the back of the wheel. As far as your controls, you've got Bluetooth with voice recognition, hands-free volume and radio controls, the button that controls your thin film, or excuse me, your liquid crystal display up there between your tachometer and speedometer. This GT Sport that I'm in right now does have the active cruise control as a part of the Sport technology package. This little button here is used to control the distance between your car and the one in front of you, and then of course you have your regular cruise control functions as well. Now, looking at the little display here in the gauge cluster, it of course has all of the relevant information and then some included in it. So you go through here, you have things such as your trip computers, drive information, digital speedometer, instant and average fuel economy, and also things such as your distance to empty up there at the top of the screen. You keep going, you can see things such as navigation, which my tester has as a part of the Sport technology package as well. Unfortunately, as you can see, the card is not inserted, so we can't exactly demonstrate demonstrate that. We do have lane keep assist and also the driver attention alert system, which you can turn on and off manually. Those two are part of the Sport Tech package as well. Another one of the handful of the active safety features on the GT Sport with the particular package I mentioned before. Keep going, you have all of your different functions such as driving assist, your door, the welcome sound that you heard earlier, convenience, service intervals, so on and so forth. And pretty much it's like all of the other functions that you'll find in the Elantra Sport sedan. Now, looking at the gauge cluster itself, I'm not exactly pleased with what I'm seeing here, because although it does look modern like a lot of other updated Hyundais now for 2018, I'd much prefer the orange needles and sort of the more aggressive font for a trim level like this GT Sport that I'm in right now. The more plain ones, I wouldn't mind seeing it in there, but at the same time, I'm not exactly a fan of it here in the GT Sport. Moving over here beside the steering column real quick, which is manual tilt and telescoping, by the way. You do have a few different controls, instrument illumination, blind spot monitoring, the lane keep assist as I mentioned before, and your traction control as well. Now, looking over at the center stack here, I'm already seeing one big thing that I'm not exactly a fan of, and you are looking right at it right here. This new kind of tablet-like display that protrudes up and out of the top of the dash instead of being more flush with the dash like that in the Elantra Sport sedan. Maybe seeing something perhaps out of a Mazda product, or perhaps going as high as BMW or Mercedes with their tablet-like screens rising up out of the dash, and it is not adjustable. You can't just rip it up out of the dash and move it somewhere else. Unfortunately, this is fixed in place. Now again, everything is subjective, but for me, it's not exactly my my favorite thing to be seeing on the dashboard of a vehicle like this. It does have all your typical controls though: radio, media via USB and auxiliary input, as well as Bluetooth media streaming. Your seat track functions as normal. The map, which again, we don't have the navigation card in this one. Same with the nav function. You have your favorite applications and music presets, which is pretty cool. The little star right there, as well as your settings. Now, one of the things I am a fan of in this particular test vehicle of mine is that it does have the optional Infinity Premium audio system, and that has been combined with the Clarify music clarification system. Now, put the two of those together, and let me tell you something, it does provide one heck of a sound. And as you can plainly hear, like I said, with the bass turned up and the treble at just the right level, this Infinity audio system definitely does have a very nice bump to it. Again, especially for someone like a music head such as myself. Now, as you can see, it does come standard with a year's subscription to Sirius XM satellite radio. Again, that is a part of most Hyundai vehicles these days, but you also do have your AM and FM functions as well. The touch response is still rather slow in some ways, but it's still getting a little bit quicker in some places. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, again, is standard with most of these touchscreen systems, so you do have that as well. But it still can be scrolled like a smartphone, and again, it's the pretty typical Hyundai infotainment system and stuff like that. Nothing too extreme, and the map graphics, I can tell you, are updated, but not exactly to their fullest potential. I would say that you could increase their potential just a little bit more. Now, if we move down the center console here, we do have the SD card slot for the Navi as well, hazard switch, of course, as well as your power door lock switch that I was mentioning earlier. Again, it's been moved from the door here to the center console. You just push it, and as long as the light is on, that means the doors are locked, and hit it again, and that does mean that the doors are now unlocked. One of the things that I said is subjective, and to me it's a bit tacky in a way, is this red accent here. It does look cool in some instances, but you find it all over the interior with the red accents on the steering wheel, and even more so here on these air conditioning vents and stuff, and then on the seats. It just seems a little bit over the top. A little bit is fine, but there is such a thing when it comes to this kind of stuff as too much. But looking at what's inside of that red sort of trimming here, we have a dual zone automated climate control system with Hyundai's clean air ionizer and purifier. Basically just a nice clever filtration system to make sure you are provided the cleanest air possible. But it has all your typical functions: the sync button, which allows temperatures to be controlled by themselves or independent of each other. or I mean at the same time. Front and rear defrost, automatic. You have the button to turn it off. Fan speed in the middle. Your climate zones over here towards the middle as well. Air conditioning and air conditioning recycling. Moving down here towards this little cubby hole, my GT Sport tester with the optional Sport Tech package does include the Qi wireless charging pad as a part of that package, which is pretty nice. So all applicable smartphones, you can just set them right in there. It still is pretty sizable, even if you don't want to use the wireless charging pad. And if you don't want to use that to put your phone in, you can of course plug it in and bring the cord all the way out here. You've got the USB and auxiliary inputs there, as well as one 12-volt 180 watt outlet as well. And finishing off the center console here, yes, I know you're looking at the automatic version of the Elantra GT Sport, but never fear, this car comes standard again, like the Sport sedan, with a 6-speed manual. But if you want the automatic, like my test vehicle here, just add in an extra $1,100 over the standard GT Sport's price tag in order to get this 7-speed EcoShift dual clutch automatic. It works the same as all the others. It has been updated and retooled just a little bit to provide smoother shifts and a little bit less jerkiness and sort of lurch when you set away from a stop. You do have the Shiftronic manual shifting. Again, you can do that by the shifter or the paddles here on the wheel. And of course, you do have an integrated backup camera with guidance lines as well as trajectory. So you turn the steering wheel and of course the lines follow whichever way you turn. And as you can hear, also, you do have the automatic door locks. Again, even though you have no indicator on the door, you do have the light on the little button here, which will tell you whether the doors are locked or unlocked. Now, again, other features I'm really enjoying here, the ventilated front seats. Again, that is an upgrade over the Sport sedan. So if you want the ventilated seats, the Elantra GT is going to be where you're going to want to aim. If you want the turbo engine and all the fun driving dynamics that come with it, with a little bit more money added on. The drive mode select, there's 2 modes here. We got normal and sport, so nothing changed there either. An electronic parking brake does come standard, or does come available, excuse me, on certain Elantra GT models. My tester here has it, as well as the auto hold function. So pull up to a stop, hit that button, and of course the car will hold itself at a dead stop until you hit the accelerator and move away. We do have 2 slightly different size cup holders here, so one slightly bigger in the front. I wouldn't recommend putting your big gulp from 7-Eleven there. It's not exactly the sturdiest thing, but it is still plenty sizable nonetheless. And of course you do have a little cover to cover up the whole thing there, as well, finishing it off with a nicely sized, or slightly smaller sized actually, center console here, finished in the leatherette with the red stitching. Sizable enough for your smartphone. Same thing goes with the, with the addition of a 12-volt 180 watt outlet as well. Moving up to the roof here real quick, we do have an auto-dimming rear view mirror on my test vehicle here with a power compass, HomeLink garage door system, and the BlueLink telematics and car care. Of course, the most modern updated version of that, of course. We do have map lights up here at the top, and of course, the big feature of them all, the fully panoramic sunroof. So just one touch operation, it goes back, and you pull the trigger hard enough, and the shade and the sunroof will go back in one swoop. And also, as a little added touch, we do have the addition of a mesh wind guard up here at the top of the roof to prevent any turbulence from coming into the cabin. Now, unfortunately, amongst all of the good things that we've said about this car so far, there are still a few things that I have to complain about. And one of the things that is a downfall with the GT in my book is the rear seat legroom. I'm 6'1", I have the seat exactly where I would have it positioned if I were driving this vehicle, and unfortunately, not much room between the front of my knees and the back of the seat. It is a little bit indented, but not enough to provide enough room for my knee to actually fit comfortably, and I don't think that would feel very comfortable in an accident either. You do have 2 mesh map pockets here in the back of each seat. No active USB charger here in the back, so maybe you would like to see something like that in the future. But you do have a small little center console here in the back seat. These seats are 60-40 split fold and pretty easy to use actually. You just pull on the tang, pull forward on the seat, and it automatically slides down flat into place. Now, despite its smaller length and compared to its sedan sibling, the Elantra GT actually is the more spacious and convenient of the 2 Elantra family members. You open the rear hatch here, and aside from a rather large opening, especially in terms of width, you're looking at the more capable of the 2 Elantras. 24.9 cubic feet of cargo space upon initial entry. Fold down those seats there, and that extends to 55.1 cubic feet of total cargo volume. That is pretty much on point with a lot of today's compact crossovers, and yet you're looking at a compact hatchback here instead. We lift up the floor, we do have a bright red, talk about going in theme, a bright red compact spare tire here, along with the applicable toolkit. But overall, if I wanted a car that I could actually haul stuff around in, the GT would definitely be the better of two options. Now, as an enthusiast, whenever I see the letter T or the word turbo written across the top of a car's engine cover, I know that there's potentially something special underneath. And in this case, it's an engine that I'm still very much familiar with. Under the hood of our test vehicle today is Hyundai's 1.6-liter twin-scroll turbocharged and direct fuel injected 4-cylinder engine that also features double overhead cams, 16 valves, and Hyundai's dual continuous variable valve timing. It makes the same 201 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque as found in the Elantra Sport sedan and in the Hyundai Veloster Turbo. Now, believe it or not, despite the shorter length, this car is identical in fuel mileage ratings as its sedan sibling, with 22 miles per gallon city and 29 on the highway for the manual being the rating, and 26 in the city, 32 on the highway being the rating for the dual clutch automatic equipped models such as my test vehicle here. Now overall, being the fact that this vehicle is a bit shorter, it is considerably lighter. 3,155 pounds fully loaded out like my test vehicle here. However, that varies again depending on options, but overall still a very potent little power plant despite its small size. Now, with the number of young drivers involved in speed-related accidents climbing higher by the moment, Hyundai has made sure that even this fast version of their Elantra GT has all the modern safety technology you could possibly shake a stick at. And this is coming on top of the normal safety features such as the front impact, and side curtain airbags, as well as the driver's knee airbag, which are included as standard. Now, with my particular tester, again, being as loaded out as it is, a lot of the active safety features on this vehicle include, but are not limited to, the blind spot monitoring, active cruise control, or smart cruise, as Hyundai calls it, with pedestrian detection, automatic emergency braking, and also things such as lane keep assist, lane departure warning, and driver attention alert. So it's fair to say that even with all that horsepower up front, you do have safety in mind as well. But finishing off here in the passenger seat, again, it's just as comfortable as over here in the driver's seat, but unfortunately, the passenger only has to do with manual adjustments, while the driver does have the power adjustments, as I said before. Opening the glove box, it is damped, so it does fall nice and soft, nothing lined and felt. This is only a $29,000 car after all, so I'm not expecting felt or anything like that. But in the end, I am still very impressed, despite my grievances with certain parts of the Elantra GT, how much this vehicle has grown up. It really feels like it has matured into something a little bit more modern compared to what it was feeling only just this past model year. So in the end, my respect for the Elantra GT is still there, and I cannot wait to get this thing out on the road in the end. And unfortunately, on that note, everybody, our time here with the all-new 2018 Hyundai Elantra GT has now unfortunately drawn to a close. I do hope you guys have enjoyed this review as much as I have had fun making it for y'all. Now, if you guys like what you see, please do give this video a thumbs up, and also be sure to click that subscribe button down below for many more videos like this and more to come in the future. But in the end, a huge thanks goes out to the folks here at Humble Hyundai once again for providing us with this fully loaded Elantra GT for us to show you guys today. And in the end, guys, from the north end of Houston, Texas, this has been Grand Prix GTP 02, and I will see y'all next time. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.